The countdown to Mother's Day is on, people. This is not a drill. You only have 6 days left to get Mom a gorgeous bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. So to help you get out of this jam, 1-800-Flowers is offering an amazing deal that Mom would approve of. Today only, when you order a dozen sorbet roses, 1-800-Flowers will give you an extra half dozen roses free, plus the vase for only $29.99. That's right. Buy a dozen sorbet roses, get a half dozen plus a free vase for only $29.99. This limited time offer ends today, so order now. With an impressive mix of pastel shades in pink, orange, and lavender, these roses are guaranteed to make her smile. Roses are the perfect way to surprise all of the moms in your life. Wife, aunt, sister, grandma, you get it. These breathtaking roses from 1-800-Flowers are picked at their peak and shipped overnight to ensure freshness. Buy a dozen sorbet roses, get a half dozen free plus the vase for only $29.99. Look, that's an amazing offer, but you gotta hurry because it expires today. Whether you're surprising an aunt, sister, or mother, let them know how much you care with 1-800-Flowers.com. Order a dozen sorbet roses, get a half dozen plus a free vase for only $29.99. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, and enter code WINGO. That's 1-800-Flowers.com, code WINGO. And hurry, offer ends today.
Squirrels are known for saving, but with the help of AARP, they won't be the only ones. From planning to budgeting, AARP is here to help you stretch your dollar further. So take on today and every day with AARP. Learn how at takeontoday.aarp.
This is the best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
Good Monday morning. Glad you're with us. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN2. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Trey Wingo, Mike Golic Jr. What a weekend.
Wow.
What a weekend. From the Derby to the NBA playoffs to amazing things in baseball and pettiness in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
Lots to get to. Lots to get to.
A ton to get to. Basketball yesterday was kind of uninspiring after what we saw on Saturday. Hockey is heating up again, but Saturday was the day.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk about it later. I went to a casino where they had a sports book to just, because I was alone, I wanted to go play some blackjack.
Lonely man sits in casino sports book.
Then throw a couple of shekels in the sports book. I had never been in the sports book.
You'd never been in a sports book?
I'd never been in a sports book.
Really?
I don't know anything about horse racing, so I just went in there to throw down a couple bucks on that.
Sports book can be not,
Oh, no, I know that. I get a sports book in this casino.
Gotcha.
And it is another world. They're speaking another language.
Yeah.
Just to throw down a couple of bucks. But while I'm there, there's the Celtics Sixers game finishing. I'm watching on big screens, and then I'm staying and watching the Cleveland game, the Cleveland and Toronto game. Saturday was unbelievable, starting from the Kentucky Derby on. It was fantastic.
Yeah, you had a lot going on. I mean, the only thing that I could qualify as maybe more in one day is I was out in Vegas at a sports book for the first round of the NCAA tournament, which
That's crazy.
Which might as well be a national holiday. But this was close because the Kentucky Derby and horse racing is as close to the most normalized version of betting in America as exists. And you're right, everything with horse racing is a different language. The measurement for the horses, the measurements for the track, all the different ways that you can bet it. It is it's a wild spot, but to have that going on alongside all of the action that we ended up getting later on in the day, all of the late game heroics in the Eastern Conference, it was insane.
It's everything you see in the movies, though, with these areas with the TVs and all the people with their notebooks and the sheets that you get and filling them out and cigarette and cigar smoke everywhere. And I'm like, what did I just walk into?
You feel like it's a time capsule.
I said, I just want to bet a couple bucks on the word. You want to do the trifecta, the box? I said, I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're saying.
Just take my money.
Yes.
Please take my money.
Exactly. And I won a couple of bucks.
There you go.
But I picked the winner. I picked the favorite. Threw it down a couple bucks. I couldn't have been more vanilla in doing it. But the bottom line is some money, a couple bucks came back to me. So I was happy with it.
Let's just say that you actually did well and you won, but nobody won more than American Pharoah in that story that came out a little earlier.
Wow.
We'll get out to that a little later.
Wow.
We all want to be that horse.
Yeah.
But let's start like we always do.
It's time for
Off the Top
Whether you like it or not,
It's just beginning.
with Golic and Wingo.
and we start with the NBA playoffs, and I think we're finally going to get the thing we've been waiting for all regular season in the Western Conference Finals. The Warriors bounced back in a big way in Game 4, beating the Pelicans by 25 to go up 3-1 in that series. This was the first time that Golden State started its death lineup, or the Hamptons 5.
Which do we like more, by the way? Which way do we want to go?
Well, it's not actually the death lineup that we got used to, so I think that's important to differentiate. That being said, the Hampton 5 doesn't have quite the same bite.
It sounds like a really bad cover band.
Yeah, it's not putting the fear of God into you.
Even though the Hampton Five did outscore the Peloton 52-26, you can call them whatever you want. By the way, those five are Curry, Durant, Green, Iguodala, and Thompson. So, I think people will stick with the death lineup because it sounds better, I would imagine.
Yes, I think
it sounds a lot better.
I think that's going to be the movement still at this point, but I will do my best to go after and try and make the Hampton Five happen. I feel like that's important to differentiate.
Do we feel like everybody knows why that name is out there?
I feel like if not, they will after this initial run because it's the first time they've gotten a start in this. So in our defense, we haven't been introduced to them
to this group,
in a big way at the beginning of the game.
But people understand why they're called the Hamptons Five is because these were the players that all went out and tried to recruit Kevin Durant.
At the Hamptons, when he was out there. I mean, Tom Brady went out there to try and recruit him as well. I mean, and when Durant just kind of sat out there and said, everybody come to me.
It makes sense, though, that no one would actually know this game because no one sticks around late enough in Warriors games to actually see this lineup on the court because by then they're already winning by 30.
And by the way, about the game, it was basically after they got smoked by the Pelicans, it was Draymond Green who sent Kevin Durant a text at 4 a.m. saying, you got to play better, you got to play tougher. And Durant just scored 38 points. And by the way, the Pelicans never led in this game.
Correct. So in other words, Draymond Green, just keep doing those texts.
There you go. Exactly right.
Just keep texting people. Kevin Durant clearly was in the zone, brought to you by AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. All right, we continue.
Off the top.
The Rockets beat the Jazz 100-87 in Utah to take a 3-1 series lead. Chris Paul, 27, 12, and 6 assists on his 33rd birthday.
More points, rebounds, assists, and field goal attempts than James Harden in this one. And they didn't even shoot well from three-point land, only 26%. The good thing for them, though, is Utah shot worse at 24%. So basically it was Harden, Paul, and Donovan Mitchell who took just about every shot in this game. And really the only fireworks in this game, because Houston led from start to finish, was the fact that Chris Paul's brother, CJ, almost got thrown out of the game sitting courtside.
Yeah, what the hell was going on?
Well, it turns out this official who tried to have him thrown out, Chris Paul's brother, CJ, played college ball, and this official supposedly reffed some of those games as well. So CJ actually said he knew this referee, and this referee told security that CJ had been saying some derogatory things. CJ basically said it wasn't me, and they were escorting him out, and Chris Paul stopped him and said, no, not happening. My brother's been to every playoff game I'm in, and I'm not in a lot. I've never been to the Western Conference Finals. The guy's not leaving the arena. They let him go back to his seat, but that was really about the fireworks of the game.
Congrats to Chris Paul for having that kind of juice. You have to imagine CJ's just salty that throughout the entire time, and we saw the Cliff Paul ad campaign for State Farm come and go, they made up a fake brother instead of using his real brother for the ad campaign. I'd be mad too.
Good point.
Well, we can all understand that.
Cliff, for crying out loud!
Of course, that Stugatz yelling at our Cliff.
Oh,
but
man.
It seemed to work at the time.
Yeah, it really does.
We'll get into more of that a little bit later.
Off the top.
The Celtics and Cavaliers are both up 3-0. Sorry, Cliff. And look to close out each of these series tonight. You can listen to Game 4 between the Raptors and Cavs on ESPN Radio at 8. Teams with a 3-0 lead have never lost. 129-0 all time in the NBA playoffs.
That's pretty good, actually. James is one of 3 players in NBA history to record 300 points, 80 rebounds, 80 assists through his first 10 games. And I only like to do those stats because of the list. Jordan and Oscar Robertson. But then again, LeBron's basically in every top list you're going to be in. He just keeps adding to his resume with the way he ended the game on Saturday night. And what the Celtics and 76ers game was unbelievable. End of regulation, end of overtime, what went on, just inbounding the ball or steals that was going against Philadelphia in this one. 2 really, really good games on Saturday with 2 teams about to meet again. Remember when they met last year, it was an absolute, destruction by the Cavaliers over the Celtics, and you can do nothing but keep praising the Celtics for what they're doing with all their players hurt.
Yeah, you've seen the importance of, on one side, what a coach can do with minimal help around him, and what a player can do. Really, LeBron James and Brad Stevens have been doing the same thing for this season, which is being the steadying force while nothing but change and chaos goes on around them. For the Celtics, it was injury. For the Cavs, it was lack of performance that had them swapping out the majority of their lineup. And for my money, the most impressive thing LeBron James has done is he's made us believe that they could possibly that I've heard people talking about them possibly being able to challenge Golden State or Houston coming out of the East. The fact that he's made people even bring it up at all is impressive because we know they're not going to win. But the fact that we're allowing him to entertain us like this and make us believe even a little bit shows just how great this guy is.
Well, we can get into a much longer discussion about what this playoff run has meant for LeBron James's legacy in a year that he probably will not win the title. And that's the weird thing about it.
Yeah.
It may change it completely. But for the immediate succession right now, the immediate scenario, do either the Sixers or Raptors get a game? They either one get a game?
Man, they have to be.
I don't think the Raptors have any chance.
This is one of those where the winning teams here can just take the wind out of their sails, and that's what you look to do now is end it and get that extra rest without question. So I would be hard pressed to think either of them will.
I think the Sixers have a puncher's chance because it's at home, and the last game went to overtime.
I mean, we saw them 2 games ago have a 22-point lead or whatever, and they've blown 20-point leads 5 times this year, so they never feel safe.
No, they don't. And for the Raptors, I mean, two of the 3 games so far have been close. The one they led all the way until overtime, and this last game more of the same.
Way to hit the ramp. Nicely done, Junior.
Well done.
Nicely done. So I would say, I think the Sixers have a chance, but I think the Raptors are just crushed. They're in a fetal position somewhere in their hotel room.
Yeah, they're ready for the offseason.
What happened? All right, meanwhile,
as they say in hockey, let's do that hockey.
Give it up, man, for the Golden Knights. They beat the Sharks 3-0 to win the series in 6 games. The Golden Knights are in the Western Conference Finals in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
How amazing! How amazing is that? They join the St. Louis Blues from 1967 and the Toronto Arenas. Yes.
How about the
Toronto Arenas from 1917 as the only franchises in NHL history to win multiple playoff series in their inaugural season. They will play either the Jets or the Preds. They won both those regular season series against them. Marc-Andre Fleury is 70th career playoff win. 4th shutout this postseason, 14th of his postseason career. So he's obviously playing. We know how important a goal it can be in hockey. And give it up to the Lightning. They beat the Bruins 3-1, and they won that series 4-1. They'll play either the Capitals or Penguins, who are playing tonight, and they won both those season series as well.
Did you say how important a Golic could be?
Goalie.
Did we hear that?
Well,
I don't know.
Golic can be pretty important.
Honestly, I think both could be
close.
just as important.
I would totally agree with you.
We can tell you how important one Golic is. There's a reason 1 hour of this show's on ESPN2 now.
Wait, researcher Brett, do we have confirmation?
Wow. He said Golic.
I did?
He's not wrong.
Here's the thing.
I hear a drop in our future.
If our Golic were to play hockey, there was only one position we would be playing. That would be goalie.
You are Golic, the goalie.
Because we couldn't skate.
Oh, it's the same way in youth soccer. It's the same way in hockey. All the above. It's it's the only way it's going to work. By the way, the Bruins got bounced here, but not before our guy Brad Marchand got admonished for his licking, nuzzling, and cuddling. Apparently, he's trying to get his American Pharaoh.
We had this talk the Friday of the draft when you had your throat issue working. Mike had no problem with all of that. There's no licking, there's no nuzzling, and there's no cuddling in sports.
And Lance Stevenson, there's no blowing in your ear.
There you go.
That's
exactly right.
Free throw line, right?
Well, going back to our original headline, we know there's licking, nuzzling, and cuddling involved in being a winning horse.
Seems so.
Actually, we don't know that.
Wow.
We just know that the end result is there.
Oh wow, team no cuddles. That'd be tough. There's got to be some bedside.
200,000. You think you get some cuddling?
Exactly. That's got to come with the package.
We're throwing out. We'll get into that story.
Okay.
We will. We'll get into that story a little later. But by the way, before we move on, is there a worse nickname in sports than the Toronto Arenas?
The Arenas.
Like the Toronto Stadiums?
I'm with you.
That's what you came up with?
Agreed.
I don't quite understand that one. All right, we continue.
Off the top.
The Yankees continue to do Yankee things. They have won 15 of their last 16, and the most recent in dramatic fashion.
Yeah, Glaber. Oh, I didn't know we were playing the... okay. No. I thought it was a play-by. That's my fault. That's my fault.
That's okay.
Guys, please stop messing up my hour on E2.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Gleyber Torres became the youngest player in Yankee history with a walk-off home run. He's only 144 days past legally being able to drink.
Unbelievable.
21 years, 144 days. The previous youngest player was a guy named Mickey Mantle, who was 41 days older.
Whatever happened to him?
Things worked out well.
Yeah.
New York trailed by 4 runs in the 8th inning against the Indians. In the last 2 weeks, the Yankees have trailed in the 8th inning or later 5 times. They won 4 of them. Give it up to Domingo Germán as well. His first career start, pitched 6 innings, struck out 9 and allowed no hits. So getting it done in New York right now. They're only a game behind Boston in the East.
The youth movement, right? All these guys going out here and performing young. Giancarlo Stanton, the elder statesman at 28, had a weird moment for me this morning where I had to wonder if I'm technically young, because that in the sports world starts to make you feel a little older as you near 30. But for this is kind of what we had in mind for the Yankees as far as who would perform those couple of Julys ago when we saw them start to mortgage the present in favor of that farm system in future. The expectations got ratcheted up as they still continue to perform, but you're seeing the young players that they wanted to bet on in this netting positive results for them.
I mean, it's amazing with the hot start that the Red Sox have gotten off to, 25-9. They're winning 74% of their games, and they're only a game up on the Yankees. I mean, that's the amazing thing, that because the Red Sox were so far ahead of everybody. And the Yankees have decided they're not going to lose.
You know what it
again.
is? It's a long season.
Little scare for the Red Sox now, too.
Yeah.
Mookie Betts taking that ball to the shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
Well, speaking of taking a baseball where you don't want to take a baseball, we can get into that a little later, but pour some out for Yachty or Molina. We'll have that discussion.
Prayers up.
Little Yachty's.
A little bit later. Mm-hmm. All right, so that was off the top, but I think we're finally getting to the point where we thought we were all going to be in February, and that is Golden State taking on Houston for the right to represent the Western Conference in the NBA Finals. We're going to get there, right? This is going to happen. Although, give Chris Paul all the credit in the world, he is taking nothing for granted.
It's the process, man. I've been here before, 3-1. It went bad real quick. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. We're just enjoying the process. Want to get home, see my family. You know what I mean? Good birthday gift. I'll take it.
Man, that word process getting used a lot this year.
That was on TNT, by the way, that sound came from. But I was just thinking about Sam Hinkie, right? He's like, everybody is now using that. It's in football. It's every other sport, and every other team is using it. And the guy that started it all and saw the results come to fruition in Philadelphia is now out of work.
If he would have really seen the light back then, he would have copyrighted that.
That's
right?
exactly
the process. He would have put that
I'm
down.
wondering because we now famously hear about Nick Saban's process at Alabama. That's what it always comes back to, and I've heard multiple players mention it. I'm not sure we ever heard that before Sam Hinkie's process. If nothing else, you can disagree with the way he executed towards the end, but the branding there was strong.
Yeah, well, and didn't Pat Riley, the three-peat, didn't he try and copyright? Yeah. The three-peat. So, I mean, heck, why not? I don't think Hinkie ever did it, so he's lost out on that. But to that point, I mean, you're right. We're getting to Houston. We thought, man, New Orleans, after what they did in the first round, could they give Golden State any kind of run at all? Turns out no. They had the one monster game in Game 3, to which led to the Draymond Green. Again, Draymond Green, after Game 3, New Orleans blew out Golden State. He texted Kevin Durant at 4 a.m. because he was upset watching tape. He said, when we lose that bad, I like to keep watching the video of our mistakes. And he texted Draymond Green or Kevin Durant a long text basically saying, you got to be you got to play aggressive, you got to be who you are. And 38 points later, I'd say he took it to heart.
And if we know Draymond wants to impress anyone, we know Kevin Durant wants to impress anyone, it's Draymond Green. He spent the majority of the season trying to emulate him, picking up personal and technical fouls. Only right that he would respond well to Draymond now, but that's what Draymond's role on this team has always been.
Isn't that exactly what he is, right? He's the agitator for the other team, and he's kind of that glue for sometimes a rough glue, but you know what? He's still that guy that kind of keeps everybody together.
As for the death lineup of the Hamptons lineup, here's Steph Curry talking about that after the win.
The versatility of that lineup, and everybody's a playmaker, and defensively we flying around. Just got the energy right to start the game, and we took advantage of it, got the momentum on our side, and able to set the right tone for bouncing back after a terrible Game 3.
So, I mean, look, that it's funny. That was the first time that lineup has sort of been there. It's like, what took you so long? Why didn't we use that lineup before?
Well, I mean, it's
I
tough.
understand there were injuries.
And plus it's tough to complain on anything they've done in the past.
Also
it's
true.
All worked out. And listen, this was a 7-point game at halftime. As I said, neither game the losing team led it all, but it's not like they were out of it completely. It's a 7-point game at halftime. Again, coming down to that third quarter. How do you come out of the locker room? Warriors won the third quarter 33-19. And in fact, the Pelicans only scored 38 points in the second half overall. So, I mean, the adjustments, how you come out, where momentum is. New Orleans in that game, but shot horrifically bad from 3-point land. They took 6 attempts, made 15% of them. So you're not sticking with Golden State when you're doing that.
No, you're not. I understand what Trey's getting at, though, because in their 18 minutes on the floor, they doubled up on the Pelicans with that lineup.
52-26.
And we've seen in the past, it's like anything else. It's when you mix it in. But Golden State always responds to being provoked. This season, they've sort of needed that, in all honesty. They probably needed that little bit of kick in the pants. They understand who they are, and that's the difference between them and the Rockets. They understand exactly who they are, and they know what they're capable of. They just don't want to waste that before they have to. Houston and Chris Paul, like he just said, can't really afford to take this for granted because that's an earned place in this.
Yeah, and again, they were up 3-1. The Clippers were when Chris Paul was in Clippers, ironically against the Rockets.
Yeah, he won't be happy until they had that 4 wins and they moved on. He's been there, done that.
A little bit of a different situation when you've got the presumptive MVP on your team and Clint Capella's block party.
You like your chances a little better here, but again, he's not counting anything yet. Golic and Wingo, presented by Progressive Insurance. Small business protection just got easier with more than 30 coverage options available. Progressive has you covered. More at progressivecommercial.com. So again, the most important thing you can take out of this opening segment more than anything else is we know how important a goal it can be in hockey. Yeah, I think so. Put us between the pipes. You guys are versatile.
Well,
you guys are versatile.
You want dynamic? I'm a
You are a professional.
Devin, the betrayal of all people.
Yeah,
Devin to sell me down the river to Cliff, who wasn't paying attention. Don't think I didn't see that, Cliff. You weren't paying attention.
He was all, but you're right. And Devin was like, "Did you not see that?
Yeah.
Did you not hear that? Unbelievable,
man! Betrayal.
I misspoke on hockey. What can I tell you?
That's all right.
Goalie, either way.
It's fine, man. We're dynamic.
We are versatile. Keyword.
Yes.
Golic
and Wingo.
and Wingo.
Trey Wingo and Mike Golic Sr. Coming up, we're in the home stretch. Got to get that stuff taken care of this week.
Absolutely.
Got to get that stuff taken care of.
Don't.
Okay, so obviously Mother's Day is coming after the first Saturday in May, which is the Run for the Roses, the Kentucky Derby. And again, you, my man, had a very good Kentucky Derby.
I did.
Saturday.
It went well. It was the first time I was in the sports book at Mohegan Sun, the casino that my wife and I, and even the kids, when we like to go gamble a little bit.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm just going to go play a little bit. And then I went in the sports book to make a bet. And it really is a different world in there.
Different language.
Threw down a couple of bucks on Justify because it was a favorite. I figured I don't know anything about this. Pretty easy, even though it was a muddy track. I wasn't sure. I won a couple bucks. It was fun.
Justifies a mutter. That's what we figured out now.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing which was interesting is that was the 6th straight Derby in which the favorite had won. I think that last happened in the 19 teens, I think, something long time. But anyway, so now the only horse that has a chance to win the Triple Crown would be Justify.
Right.
By the way, all 4 of Bob Baffert's previous Derby winners, and Justify as a Bob Baffert horse, went on to win the Preakness. So we might be looking at this scenario
Belmont's
going forward.
Good pedigree.
So anyway, if you win the Triple Crown, you have a horse that is a moneymaker, basically. And I think Justify is actually have the bloodlines of Secretariat. I think there's some of the bloodlines of a horse that blah, 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 blah,
yeah, right.
is down the line. But the way they do this is they put a horse out to stud. And American Pharoah, the Triple Crown winner in 2015, is living the life we would all like to lead in retirement, Mike.
I mean, I'm just reading from this article, the things that say, he'll have sex up to 3 times a day. That's the life for a big-time stud. And the quote is, they enjoy it quite a bit.
I was about to say, did that need to be added? This is awful. Please don't do this.
So here's how it's written. He now commands $200,000 per cover / has impregnation. Right.
Yeah.
And according to the New York Times, has taken to his new career with the same drive and skill as he did on the racetrack. He should make about $30 million this year alone, and already has success in the breeding shed with an 80% strike rate. That's what they call it. I'm just reading it.
Strike rate.
Sounds like my transition into life after football.
Please.
Strike rate?
Sex 3 times a day at $200,000 per. So you may ask, okay, is it only, the top of the line horses here that make the big money? No. Tappet, who finished 9th in the 2004 Kentucky Derby, used to make.
Wait.
I know.
Tappet?
I know.
Tappet?
Yeah.
Well, if the horse's name is Tappet, his strike rate's got to be higher. I mean,
listen,
that's fair.
What
right?
can I tell you?
That's fair.
What can I tell you? Tappet finished 9th in the 2004 Kentucky Derby, and started out in 2005 getting $15,000 Okay? But since the offspring had so much success that Tapit now gets $300,000. It's the highest rate in the United States for stud fees. How about that? This is great the way it's written. These stallions quickly learn their new responsibilities. When Tapit leaves his wide, comfortable stall, there are two possible destinations, the paddock or the breeding shed.
Yeah.
The breeding sessions take just a few minutes. A group of supervisors lead the stallion to the mare in the shed to make sure the deed gets done.
Well, then there's...
Are you okay over there, Mike?
No,
you're like a 2-year-old
so
over
many
there.
Jokes.
Yeah, don't do them.
I can't do any
Just
of them.
don't do them.
Wide and comfortable, tap in.
Go ahead.
I mean, my God.
Just save it for your
Happy Mother's Day indeed. American Pharaoh's out here making plenty of them.
How about it?
And then there's the best part here that you left out.
Yeah.
Beforehand and afterward, there's not much room for cuddling, foreplay, or breakfast. A stallion gets in and gets out.
You would think, and it only takes a couple of minutes, and certainly guys are used to that, but nothing. $200,000, no cuddling, no nothing? No licking, no nuzzling, no cuddling?
Just call her an Uber.
I mean, come on.
Live your life.
I mean, come on.
Live your life. $30 million in a year.
I was going to say, this is the Derek Jeter of horses right here.
$30 million.
The Uber's
in a year.
waiting outside the stall, honey.
Wow.
We're good.
200,000, not even the most.
Oh.
300,000 is the most now. Wow.
And I think Justified does have Secretariat bloodlines in him.
There's a nice basket of oats waiting outside of the stall here for you.
Basket of oats.
What a living, right?
Man. Oh,
I don't even know where to go
hurts.
with this.
To the farm.
Wow.
That's where you want to go with this. To the farm.
Honestly, of all those we heard so many numbers in there. The most impressive by far there. Three in one day. I mean, no offense, but for most adult men after retirement, that's going to break your hip.
It's really good. It's a tough one. Breeding
You just went
season.
with a broken hip card?
Yeah, did.
That's what you played? Okay.
Breeding season runs from February to July. That's basically, and it slows down in June.
So the thoroughbreds enjoy a 4 or 5 month sex romp with a whole lot of food to meet energy demands.
Let me tell you what the crack research team here at First and Last has been up to. I just have Devin in my ear
By
saying,
the way, this is Golic and Wingo, just so you know.
What did I say?
First and Last.
First and Last. Well, I mean, the first hour of the show's basically anyway. They put us on E2 for a reason.
Uh-huh.
You're not the reason.
No.
Devin in my ear just says, we're back here Googling horse sex jokes.
Okay.
On a work computer, huh, Devin?
Wow.
It is research.
It is research.
Devin, go ahead and read the joke you found.
Stable relationships are for horses.
Oh. You Googled it, and that's what you got?
That was Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless.
That alone is why
Nationwide
you're
coverage
not
on America's
going to cover the
largest,
White
most
Sox
dependable
when
4G LTE networks.
your boy Eloy gets called up. That joke alone. You've just ruined that. But he's got a live arm.
Golic
I tell you what, a great sports night last night. Yeah. No doubt about it.
and Wingo.
What a day, what a show, what a time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
I'm a one-trick pony. Literally. I show up at kids' parties and act cute. That's pretty much it. So excuse me for being bitter. When Geico says not only could we save you money on car insurance, but we do more. Like give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or even via our award-winning mobile app. Well, ooh la la. Aren't they multi-talented? Hey, I said organic carrots.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Working our way through a Monday morning. Golic and Wingo, glad you're with us on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. It could come to an end tonight for both Philadelphia and Toronto, as the Celtics and Cavs are both up 3-0 in those series, respectively, and they both play tonight. The first game is Boston, right? First game is Boston.
Yeah, 6 o'clock. The 6 o'clock start is just incredible. 6 and then 8:30.
Love it.
Wow.
Love it.
And this time around, it's Boston and with the first one at 6 o'clock. Yeah,
correct. So we'll see what happens there. By the way, we had a couple of games yesterday. Obviously, the Warriors are up 3-1, and Houston is also 3-1. The Warriors led wire to wire in their Game 4 win, and protecting the lead is brought to you by ADT. Considering home security, consider this: for 140 years. ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. Visit ADT.com to learn more. We got Ryan Hollins coming up at the bottom of the hour, talk a little about the NBA playoffs and maybe some of the things we were talking about with how the perspective of LeBron has maybe changed in a year where he probably won't win, yet somehow we're finally looking at him in a different light. But let's do what we do with what's trending. And it was the Warriors bouncing back in a big way in Game 4. The death lineup, death in the Hamptons. The Hamptons lineup really led the way to take that 3-1 series lead over the Pelicans.
Really need to find a better name. People can be creative out there to find a name for this
natural
group.
Evolution of this. So we've gone from the Hamptons 5 to Death in the Hamptons. Try this one on for size.
Okay.
Weekend at Bernie's.
See, you're just copying then.
Yeah.
You got to be original.
Well, that's
Weekend at Bernie's.
See, here's the deal with
I'm bringing something old back to help you guys. I'm trying to meet you guys in the middle.
No. We want more creativity than that.
And by the way,
I stole that from Brett.
Weekend at Bernie's was just a dead guy. This horse is, I mean, no, they're not dead.
Yeah, it's a dead guy in the Hamptons. It's the Hamptons 5, then it was a death in the Hamptons. Weekend at Bernie's was literally about a death in the Hamptons. I can't spoon feed it to you guys.
All right, you're going to want to keep working on that. Curry, Durant, Draymond Green, Iguodala, and Thompson.
Awful.
That is the lineup. They outscored the Pelicans 52-26 in 18 minutes. I think the interesting thing here, after they got blown out by New Orleans, Draymond Green was watching that video. He couldn't sleep and was so disgusted by it. He texted Kevin Durant at 4 a.m. and saying, Kevin, you got to play better on both ends of the court. You got to be more aggressive. Kevin Durant took it to heart, said, I got you, and ended up scoring 38 in this game. Kevin Durant, for my money, is the best player on Golden State, a team that's the best team in the league. And it looks like now that they're going to take this series and we're going to get what we want in that Houston and Golden State Western Conference Finals.
And you know, they have that relationship. We've seen that from KD and Draymond, where they understand his role on this team. Forget to just be an agitator and a mouthpiece, but he's also the guy that can push people internally in this way, because there is an alternate reality where Kevin Durant could get this text and be like, dude, you had 8 points in the last game.
Yeah,
why don't you try something?
Yeah, exactly. But this was the first time ever since Kevin Durant became a Warrior, for whatever reason, some of it injury, obviously, that these 5 were out there at the started to start a game. And Steve Kerr was asked why now and why this lineup.
Obviously, it is our best 5 players, so if you can get to your best 5 players, that's what you want to do. I didn't feel comfortable doing it last game. I wanted to continue to bring Steph back a little bit before we got it going, because a lot of the small lineup is based on the high screens with Steph, and I wanted to see him a little bit more. I thought tonight he made a breakthrough conditioning-wise, and he was moving much better than he was in game 3. But you're on the road, you're threatened. You put your best 5 guys out there, and they start like that. It sets a great tone.
So let's just assume that we're going to start the game tonight with that lineup.
Yeah,
right? That should be what happens, right?
It certainly can set a great tone. I don't think there's any doubt about that, and it did. As we mentioned, both the games yesterday, start to finish, led by the winning team. So not a whole lot there going on. Pelicans were only down 7 at halftime. Third quarter, they got absolutely blown out. And we'll see. When people say, why haven't you started this lineup during the season? We can't sit here and complain too much about what Golden State's done over the last few years.
They're doing just fine. Yeah. We should all be as horrible as the Warriors have been the last 3 years. By the way, the Celtics and Cavaliers, again, both up 3-0 and can close out both of these series tonight. Teams with a 3-0 lead are unbeaten in NBA playoff history, 129-0.
I don't think that's going to change. It's just a matter, do they both sweep, or does the other team get one out of this? And I'm sure, especially LeBron, would love to rest a little bit. Can't say enough about Boston, Mike, about Jason Tatum and what he's doing. And who would have thought the big 3, we used to saying that there when it was Allen, Pierce, and Garnett, that it's now Tatum, Al Horford, and Terry Rozier. I mean, that's your big 3 right now. But Tatum has been absolutely incredible in a year where we've talked about Ben Simmons and Donovan Mitchell. What Tatum has been able to do has been amazing. And a lot of people talk about Philadelphia maybe giving that game away. They did with some lazy passes and some mistakes during it. But still, what Boston's done to me, for my money, has been from a team aspect, the most impressive thing in these playoffs, given the injury, while individually it's certainly been LeBron.
This has been the one series where I think the outcome wasn't what we expected, right? In every other series, we expected Cleveland to take Toronto. We expected both those teams in the West to win, but we had upgraded Philadelphia to a team that we were putting in the Eastern Conference Finals, and Brad Stevens has clouded that. Brad Stevens has clouded alongside Greg Popovich, but that's a name we've known for a while, of what we think we can expect from coaching at this point in the NBA. And we're seeing it play out in real time where Brett Brown and Dwayne Casey are both receiving a lot of harsh criticism for their coaching jobs in these big stages.
Yeah, and that seems a little, it seems
like an overreaction.
Thank you.
It seems like especially in Philadelphia, where we went from talking about this team being set for after the Cavs and the Warriors window to now thinking they belong in the Eastern Conference Finals and freaking out because that hasn't happened. That all feels a bit reactionary.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. These coaches have done a pretty good job all year long to break down these the ATO plays that aren't working. It's like, come on. And we're parsing it pretty thin.
Yeah, it just seems like a bit much, and that's coming from someone. I'll be interested. Ryan Hollins is coming in studio of how much is appropriate to both ask and expect of a head coach, not knowing what you don't have one of the greats like a Brad Stevens or a Popovich who gives you a decided advantage. I want to know how much you can expect from the rest.
All that being said, though, I do like what Brad Stevens has done in those situations. He's maybe a play at both sides of the fence.
Really does. Sure. Yeah, that is true.
All right, the clock is running. We're moving on. There you go. I got past it. Speaking of getting past it, the Mets are past Matt Harvey. Matt Harvey, designated for assignment. He refused, so basically his time with the Mets organization is over.
Yeah, and it's always interesting, Mike, I heard you talking about this morning when somebody leaves an organization, how the whispers turn into shouts or into real conversation that gets out. And first and foremost for the Mets, the pitching staff you counted on, as I said, Met fans wait for the shoe to drop. Matt Harvey's not what he's had been in the past. He's gone. Jacob deGrom, hyperextended elbow. Oh, he'll make his next start. Goes on the DL instead for safety precautions, and we'll see where that goes. But Met fans are just too used to this. But with Matt Harvey, listen, he just didn't want to go to the minors, so he gets designated for assignment. And then when that happens, it's like, some guys are like, oh, he was a fine teammate. Others, he was kind of a loner, kind of did his own thing. It's amazing how that all bubbles to the surface after somebody's out the door.
You know what Matt Harvey sounds like? Plenty of guys I've seen in a locker room. Plenty of guys where you know them in the building, you've got that working relationship, and that's about it. And he might not be the friendliest or anything else, but all this just comes out to the dude wasn't good. The dude in the role you were asking to play this year had an ERA up over 10. All of these things don't matter. And really, you hear the comments, they're not even that inflammatory.
No, they're not.
And they're anonymous comments. This is the area we'd expect it. So that should tell you all of this is more overblown than it gets.
You're right. They're not even that bad comments at all. And the bottom line is, if he was doing what he did a while ago and winning, nobody would be saying a word. It would just be like, hey, he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's going out there and he's winning for us.
Winning is the ultimate deodorant.
Yes, it is.
When you're winning, everything is fine. And when you're not winning or you're not performing at your best, everything is a problem. And nobody can ever find the in-between between those two things, Junior.
Yeah, no, I say performing well is probably the operative term because we talk all the time about how wins and losses is not always a great metric for starting pitching.
Correct, but he has a 7 ERA in 8 outings this year and had a 10.5 ERA as a reliever. He's likely finished his Mets career 3 games under 500, but again, that's not the issue.
Right.
The 3.66 ERA is still pretty good, but that shows you how much that has risen over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, the dark night is now just gone dark, basically.
Yes, exactly. And again, Mets fans are going to say, oh, no, is this the start? He hasn't been doing his thing. How bad is DeGrom hurt? What's next? What's going to happen next to us?
Well, the clock is going to what's happening next to us, and we're going to ramp up and hit it right there. Again, we had Bubba on earlier, love it or shove it. He was on the Mets, and I was like, no, the Red Sox are clearly the best team in baseball. The Mets are now 17-15.
Yeah.
2 games over 500.
The Mets seem like they're the Raptors with self-awareness, right? Like they kind of understand their lot in life, and they don't get too caught up in the success.
That is absolutely correct. Golic and Wingo, presented by Progressive's Home Insurance. Get your quote at Progressive.com today. Okay, so Saturday Night Live put on a skit that didn't make air. And I'll get into that situation and how that's played out a little bit later. But we all saw the skit online, and it was pretty funny. It was basically poking fun at the Cleveland Cavaliers not named LeBron James. Right. Sort of doing what everybody talks about when you look at the Cavaliers. It's LeBron James and others. And the audio alone sort of explains the entire skit. So this is what happened.
The Cavaliers playoffs 2018. We run this league. Nothing gonna stop LeBron James. Everybody knows about LeBron. But don't forget about us. The other Cavaliers.
And whatever LeBron needs, we'll get it done.
As long as what he needs isn't basketball.
But we've got everything else covered.
Every time LeBron makes a free throw, I'm right there with that high five like, there you go, LeBron. I always got LeBron's back. And his shoulders.
I hold LeBron's third and fourth cell phone.
You know that thing when you roll the ball up the court to save time? I'm pretty good at that.
And I only play in blue jeans.
I average 0 points, 0 assists, 6 personal fouls.
I sweep up LeBron's chalk. I run the pick and roll. That's when I pick up LeBron's laundry and roll it on over to his house.
I'm 53 years old. I have 7 kids, and 2 of them are also on the Cavs.
Our point guard is a Roomba.
I'm still learning the rules, and I'm a slow learner. We run an offense called hot potato. LeBron throws us the ball, we throw it right back. Hot potato.
I shoot granny style. And don't forget about the girl on our team.
It started as a gimmick, but guess who's the second leading scorer on the team? Even though I'm a heavy smoker.
And we're the other Cleveland Cavaliers. So we all just want to say,
thanks, LeBron.
Thanks, LeBron.
Thanks, Bron.
Thanks, LeBron. And hey, sorry, man.
Wow.
That was really good.
And it didn't make air.
It didn't make air. My favorite one, I'm the second leading scorer on the team, and I'm also a heavy smoker. So for people that don't understand, here's what happens on Saturday Night Live. I used to be a page at NBC back in the 80s, and one of the gigs you got to do was work the Saturday Night Live shift, which was always awesome. But they do the show twice every Saturday night. They do a 2-hour dress rehearsal in front of a live audience, and then they figure out what worked and didn't work with the audience, and they pair 30 minutes out of the show. So they have 2 separate audiences that get tickets.
So the dress rehearsal audience, and they're gone, and a new audience.
A new audience comes in.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So you have the dress rehearsal, I think, is like 6:30 or something like that. So they come in, they play that out in front of the live audience, and then they get together, and whatever worked didn't work, and then they pare it down, and they run it again at 11:30. And
that got cut out.
That got cut out.
That's amazing because the rest of that episode was bad.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe most of the rest of those sketches made it through when that was what got left on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
Wow. So I didn't realize that there were 2 shows like that.
Yeah.
And you were a page there.
Yeah, page in the late 80s.
So you did this stuff for Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Who were some of the people on when you were there?
John Lovitz was there, Dana Carvey, Phil Hartman, Kevin Nealon, Jan Hooks, Victoria Jackson. It was pretty good.
So did you have like a lot of interaction with them?
Yeah. One of the things when you got to work the Saturday Night Live shift, you got to go. You got to one of the page assignments in your little blue blazer and khaki pants. Was to work security at the door for the cast party afterwards.
Really?
Now, that was a fun
So you
time.
never got into that cast party?
Well, you could get in after everybody was in there a while. You could go.
So you got in there for a couple of times.
Were you ever asked to hold anything weird in there?
No. Never anything like that.
So for those that watched 30 Rock, you were Kenneth.
I was Kenneth. We gave guided tours of the building. At that time, Letterman was on NBC. You could work the Letterman show. The Bill Cosby show was on. You could do that.
Right.
Phil Donahue was still on the air, but you did mostly you gave guided tours of the building and basically helped people out.
So did you have anything to do with like the guests?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you sometimes would you take this and bring this to somebody or do this and you.
Okay. Who was a jerk?
I don't want that.
Come on, they were a jerk. They
no. Let me just say, Letterman was very gracious all the time.
Okay.
Very, very gracious. There were other.
If you don't want to say who they are, what did they do that made him a jerk?
They just pretended like you were a piece of dirt.
Oh, really?
You were not worthy of their time, which I get. I understand it. But the cast parties are crazy now.
Oh, I've heard about those.
Let's just explain the scenario here because you do the show twice, so you are
whooped.
burnt.
Yeah.
So the show ends at 1:00 in the East, and everybody stays on stage for a little while and chit chats, blah blah blah. Then they go back to their dressing room. So they really don't start leaving to go to the cast party until about 1:45, 2:00 in the morning. And then not everybody shows up right at 1:45, 2:00 in the morning. Really, everybody gets there at like 2:30.
Where is it? Is it a same
different
spot?
places, different places
okay.
all over Manhattan. And the party really doesn't get bumping till about 3:30 or 4, and then it's rolling for a while. And then it's that scenario if you're at the party and then the party ends and you walk outside and that that sunlight hits
Daylight
you.
hits
Oh
you?
my God, what is that? What is that? You see people like jogging by and they're like, you people, what's wrong with you?
So you would work security, but then you'd go in the party.
Go in the party afterwards.
What's the craziest thing you ever saw happen in that party? You don't have to name the people involved, but what's the craziest thing?
Well, let's just say this was the late 80s. Whatever you thought went down in the late 80s went down.
So it was like an American Pharaoh stable covered in snow.
Well, it wasn't quite that, but it was a good time. I mean, it was just, you're like, oh, hey, there's Rick Ocasek from the Cars. Hey, there's Paulina Porter.
All right,
how's it going?
So if you don't want to mention who were the nice people? Who treated you well? Who were, give them some love?
Phil Hartman was one of the most gracious guys you'll ever want to meet.
He's funny.
He was so good. Dana Carvey was great. They were, look, for the most part, they were all really, really nice. They were. Because I think a lot of those guys knew how hard it took for them to get where they were and some of the crap that they did.
It sounds like a job that you would get burnt out doing, being paid there. You get run around.
It's hard. We used to call it the best job you'll ever hate or the worst job you'll ever love. I mean, that was sort of, because it was fun. Everybody, you could only be a page for a certain period of time. Back then, I think it was 18 months.
How old were you?
I was right out of college.
Oh, okay.
It was like a glorified fraternity.
Oh,
basically.
my gosh.
And you were all trying to get in the business and get to do something. So I think now you can only be a page for like 6 months.
So along those lines, when you did that, so you went into it with a purpose. What was your end game?
To work with you.
I know that's not true. I mean,
I wanted to be a sportscaster. I wanted to do that. So I got a chance to make a demo tape and send it around, and that's how I got started. But it's fun and it was awful at the same time. But it was great because there was like 50 of us. I don't think there's that many now, but we had a ton of us that were all there together at the same time. We're all trying to, some people wanted to be writers. That movie that came out, God, My Girl with Anna Klumsky, who's now on Veep.
Right.
One of the pages was what wrote that movie and became a director because of that.
I was just going to ask, of your page class, who is the most well-known page outside of you?
Probably her. Also, I'm not sure if there was anybody else there were a couple guys that got some acting gigs. Oh, he's from Providence. Matt Gallant is his name. He used to be on Animal Planet all the time with that show. I gotta look up what the name of that show is. But he had a show on forever. So he
was a page with you.
He was a page with me. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Look, it was a fun gig right out of college.
And I did not know about the 2-show thing.
Yeah.
Well, you were there a long time.
It's a long night. So when they're ready to party, they were ready to party.
Wow. So in all honesty, could you write a book that would be salacious?
No, I wouldn't want to do that.
No, I know you wouldn't want to do it. Could you?
I technically maybe, but my memory is so bad. I don't even remember.
Why,
Seriously.
Trey? Why was your memory so bad going in that party?
I can't really talk about that right now. But listen, it was fun. It was a good time.
Sounds like it. Right out of college.
It was
That's
a perfect
awesome.
job. It's like adult transitioning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're not transitioning to anything doing that job. Are you kidding me?
There were some days you had to give the tours 4 times a day. Like 4 tours in a day. I know that sounds...
I was going to say, I went to practice hungover too. I get it.
No, but 4 tours is like... Each tour is like an hour and 20 minutes.
Right.
Hour on, hour off. By the time the 4th group came on, you're like, here's the studio... Look over there. Oh, look, there's that person. Thanks, get out. The first tour was always the best
always
tour.
The best one.
The 4th one, you were like dragging,
that's pretty cool.
man. You
that's
were
pretty
dragging.
Cool.
Wow.
That's a nice job out of you.
It was fun. It was a fun time.
You can tell us some of the bad stories and bad people in the break.
Yeah, we'll probably.
I won't leave the mic on.
Yeah. Yes, you will. Coming up, we'll ask a former NBA player if LeBron is making him rethink about what his perception of LeBron is.
Golic and Wingo.
It was all sort of one big giant Jell-O mold. It's very interesting where that went.
ESPN NBA analyst Ryan Hollins in studio giving us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Straight Talk, your reaction when you saw the shot from LeBron Saturday night to win it.
It was so casual.
Yeah.
In a sense, like, it really wasn't like, oh, he was pressing, the game was on the line, what is he going to do? It was like one dribble right, go full court, crossover, throw it up, workout, move off the glass, game winner, let's go home.
Right, it was crazy. I mean, it was crazy.
So on the other side of that, we're hearing a lot of criticism about Toronto, about a lot of things, but, let's break it down to that play. What should they have done, if anything different you think, on that play guarding LeBron?
You got to go full court. You got to press the ball. If you let a player that good be that comfortable going down court, who's hit a game win already, who's beat you all series long, that's a problem. Like, you got to you have to make him do something he doesn't want to do. Or at some point in time, I don't care at the end of the game, somebody else has to beat you. I'm running a double at him. I'm cutting off his momentum. He was so comfortable moving down court.
And so how much of, I guess, all of this do you put on Dwayne Casey? Because we heard sound from Dave McMenamin the other day saying that if the Raptors get swept, he believes there's a chance that Dwayne Casey is not back as the head coach for the Raptors next year. How much of this are you putting on coaching?
I'm putting nothing on Coach Casey. This is a personnel problem. This is a man-to-man problem. What LeBron's doing right now, this has to be personal at some point. Every time I've competed against LeBron, every time I've played in the playoffs, it was personal. If you're not stepping on the court with every single fiber of your body, everything in your being to stop a guy, to shut him down, to get in his face, to disrupt, this is life and death we're dealing with right now. Not literally life and death, but you've got to have that type of mentality. Right. And if you're not going out there to compete like that, don't even step on the floor. And you got two rookies, OG Anunoby and Pascal, trying to guard LeBron. They're thinking about basketball, and at that point, the game is so much of a mental game, so far beyond any of that, and you're not seeing that. And like I could draw up the most perfect scheme defensively in the world to guard a guy or to shut him down, but if you don't go out and it's not personal for you, what more can I do?
NBA analyst Ryan Hollins with us in studio. Now, you played for Dwayne Casey in Dallas, so you have a relationship with him. But when you said they're thinking about basketball, what should they be thinking about if they're not thinking about basketball in that situation?
Well, it's got to be personal.
Yeah.
Like I gotta to a sense not like you. And you know, we all
that works in this dynamic. In this
yeah, you guys are used to that. No. We he and we ha at Lance Stevenson. Well, he's blowing in ears. Here we go again, Lance. But what did Lance do? At the end of the day, as former athletes, you got to respect. He got on the floor and competed, and he brought a psyche and a mentality to that team where they pushed LeBron, even to the extent where everybody, they're not that good. You know, is LeBron washed up too many miles on his body? And what's he look like comfortable? He looks real good when he's comfortable. So you've got, I don't want to say blowing his ear, but you've got to get after him. Like, it's got to be personal. Like Lance was ready to fight LeBron if it went there. And I'm not saying to fight him or do anything beyond basketball, but if this makes sense, fellas, man, like when you're in that grind in the playoffs, like, I've got to take you right up to that moment, and then I've got to keep playing basketball. But I've got to find a way to get there, and it takes some more if you want to win and succeed at that level.
Yeah, you got to straddle the line. You know, Sometimes you cross over that line. Sometimes you're right up on that line. How about the better games were obviously the Saturday games. How about with the Celtics and 76ers? We heard our own Stephen A. said all three games basically are Brett Brown's fault, which I think we all believe is way over the line on that one. But let's go to that. What was the issue? Youth? Was it scheme? Was it plays in out of bounds? Where did you see the fall for the 76ers here?
Well, for one, this couldn't have been the most worst take that Stephen A. Smith has said or the most bandwagonish statement. It was experience. And everybody jumped on me when I said, I don't believe in the 76ers. They beat bad team after bad team going down the stretch. They're not as good as you think they are. But guess what? It's still a process. This is one of the most exciting young teams that we've seen in a really long time. We're all excited about it. But guess what? Let's just stay excited.
Yeah.
Let's not crown these guys before it's time, and that's what you're seeing. The mistakes they made is none other than experience. There's the play where Joel Embiid, they called an ISO to get him in right at the elbow line area, go one-on-one, and we're supposed to shield off Horford. In the playoffs, Horford's been there before. That's nothing but experience saying, I know the ref's not going to make this foul call, and I'm going to run through Embiid and try to get this steal, and he ended up getting it. An experienced guy grabs Horford by the shorts and says, ref ain't calling it, I get the ball, get to my sweet spot, and get a good shot off. So that's nothing but experience. And in a 1-point game, in a 2-point game, just running the play, I'm sorry, dude. I can't draw up how to block your man, how to stay in front of him, how to pass and cut. Like, any means necessary at this point. If I got to elbow you across the face to get a pass off or take a dribble, you just make it happen. And that's nothing but experience, and these guys having not been there before. But that also breeds greatness.
Yeah, so to your point, Ryan Hollins, basically what you're saying about the idea of Stephen A. Smith blaming all 3 losses on
out
Brett
of his
Brown
mind
is...
Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no.
just want to make sure I got that correct, right? All right, so
out of his mind.
Well, and I guess it's interesting because it's against the Celtics team that's the youngest team left in the playoffs. Like, is Al Horford's influence that big in this? Because you're dealing with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and a lot of guys who haven't been here and don't have that experience either.
Well, think about Tatum. What did Tatum do last year? He chased LeBron around and took his lumps on the head. He was falling all over the place, but he was competing. He was figuring out he had to guard LeBron even when we all knew he wasn't ready to guard LeBron, and now it's paying off. Now he's coming in. He's got a playoff mindset. He's matured 1 year, which in NBA years, that first year to second year, it's like a child, just having all the knowledge imprinted into their brain, and then, everything else is a coach from there on out. But that's what you saw from Jaylen. That's what you have from Al Horford. Remember when I said, hey, the biggest problem, the most playoff experienced guy on Philadelphia is who? JJ Redick.
Right.
I love JJ. That's my guy, but that's a problem because there's not much he's going to teach Embiid or Simmons. Simmons doesn't have a jump shot. What does he have in a game? In a playoff game when he's counted on 1 point. Inexcusable. Okay, so those are all big signs that when you're playing against a team that's just as talented, that's got another 6'8" or 6'7" guy who's athletic and who can stay in front of you, you're going to struggle, and that's what we saw.
All right, so speaking of teams that are talented, we finally saw, as Ryan Hollins is with us in the studio, we finally saw the Golden State Warriors' death lineup or the Hamptons lineup of those, their 5 best players start a game for the first time since they've been there. I'm assuming we're going to see a lot more of this going forward.
Absolutely. That's their bread and butter.
That's their bread, butter, the dinner, the steak,
butter,
the salad,
everything. Fellas, think about this. We talk about experience, and it's tough because what didn't we kind of want to see? Cleveland and Golden State again.
Yeah.
But we cannot excuse, once you have the talent, the experience, knowing what to do, where to be when you get there. When Curry gets into the lane, he can almost throw it blindfolded out to Iguodala in that left corner, or Draymond Green popping back behind the 3. They've been there before. Defensively, Curry knows if he's beats, Dre's got his back, and KD's coming for a weak side block or an X out to the weak side. So those guys know where to be when each other is on the line, and just experiencing them moving them. Like, it's just, there's so many, like, there's no other, like, way to explain it. Like, they just know what to do. They know the tempo. They know the emotions.
So since this team now seems to be healthy again, we know they had the Knicks during the regular season like they did. Now they're healthy in the postseason. Should everybody be going back to saying, okay, we're looking forward to Houston and Golden State the way Houston's been playing, but Golden State the clear favorite?
Of course, Golden State's the clear favorite. Like, when weren't they the clear favorite? Like, when wasn't LeBron the best player on the planet? Like, this is confusing. Keep in mind, though, I'm excited to see this Boston series because they got 5 guys who can compete, who can score, who can defend. But LeBron's been the favorite. Golden State's been the favorite. It's not even like, hasn't never been a question. We're just glad coming into the season somebody else is in the mix.
Can Houston compete in this, though? I mean, a lot of people have been saying that they're maybe the better team now, but I don't know how we can say that, but we'll see. No.
There's a slim margin. And it will come down to Houston playing a lot of one-on-one basketball, getting stops on Harden, and Golden State moving the ball. That was the difference against Cleveland. Cleveland had a very good team last year, as we know, with Kyrie mixed with LeBron James on the floor at the same time. But what happened? Fourth quarter, Golden State executed. They moved the ball. They shared the sugar. They defended. They forced you to where you didn't want to be. Sugar sharing, man. We got to move that sugar all around. But that's the difference.
That sounds like an SNL cast party. But Ryan, I wanted to ask you something now that we've gotten all the hard-hitting basketball questions out of the way. Something more important, because we've been talking about in a number of different settings the transition from life as an athlete, life as a professional athlete, to life after the fact. And you've had a great time transitioning here, but part of that is still living somewhat with basketball. And I know a lot of guys, once they're done, I mean, I don't know how often this is, but you see guys playing pro-ams and stuff like that, but even playing in pickup. And I know you've played some pickup around here. You've played some pickup around here at ESPN?
Oh, my gosh. I played some pickup around here.
Well, I got to ask. So you played pickup with Devin, who works on the show with us. I need
Why
you to...
Why is Devin beat red right now?
Because
you probably beat him.
He knows I'm going to ask you about the alley-oop that Devin tried to throw you off the backboard. Can you give us the play-by-play of Devin's attempted fast break alley-oop to you off a backboard in an ESPN pickup game?
We are on a fast break, or a slow break, as you would say, because this is... I'm on the court with Devin. That's my dude right there. And he's beat red right now as I say it. And I scream out trailer. And I'm like, just Devin, I'm behind you. Give me the ball. I'm going to go score. Devin goes, it flashes in his mind. It's that moment where he goes, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for me to throw a lob to Ryan Hollins, as he said afterwards. And he goes full speed, closes his eyes, and bangs the ball off the backboard. And I'm running through, and I'm like, Devin, like,
as it sails over your head.
Perfect idea. I would love to have a bit of a warning when this is going to happen, and open your eyes next time, and trust me, this isn't the NBA. You don't need to be Jason Kidd, Magic Johnson. Magic's throwing that thing and not looking at you. Devin, you need to be looking with both eyes when you want to throw that thing off the backboard.
So he threw it off the backboard and it bounced way behind you.
But
half court.
Half court?
Half court.
But to be fair, that just shows that Devin has a live arm. Basically.
If I came out of an airplane, I couldn't get that one.
Listen, I'm doing that 10 out of 10 times. I'm shooting my shot every time on that. It's going off the backboard.
Actually, you were messing up his shot more than anything else.
Oh, my God.
Well, listen, for on behalf of the show, we apologize for Bubble Boy's lack of skills as a point guard.
And don't worry, if he had a saw me, don't worry, just look back and throw it off the back. No one in that gym would have stopped it. Don't worry, you would have been safe. You would have been safe. I could have had some jeans on, and there was no one stopping me, bro. And some Timberland boots. Nobody's gonna stop me from doing that thing, Devin.
We'll work on Ryan's appropriate passing as the point guard a little bit later on.
Awesome.
That was the best way to end that segment, Ryan. You're the best.
That's right.
We appreciate it.
Anytime, guys.
Golic and Wingo.
Let's not expect too much. There's only one person out there that's expecting way too much out of this guy too early. We know who that is. It's his father.
It's a normal day. You're rushing out the door to get to work on time when suddenly, there it is, the dreaded service light. So what is it this time? Tire pressure? Low coolant? Time for an oil change? When it comes to service lights, head to Jiffy Lube. We've got you covered. Drive in today and make the switch to Pennzoil. Ask for Pennzoil Synthetics, getting you back on the road in a jiffy. Jiffy Lube. Leave worry behind.
Golic and Wingo with you on a Monday morning on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Glad you're with us. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Big weekend in sports. The Kentucky Derby, obviously a big part of that. And that was good for you, my man.
Yeah, it was. I had never really experienced horse racing at like a sports book or, Greenie and I did a couple shows at the Kentucky Derby, but never really got in the mix of the gambling part of it. So I was alone this weekend. I love going to the casino. So I thought, I'll go play a little blackjack and I'll go there for the Derby. And I walked into the sports book there, which is an experience in and of itself. That is a different language in there. They were serving mint juleps. I did not have any because I'm not a fan that much of mint juleps.
Yeah, they are certainly an acquired taste.
Yeah, they definitely are. But hey, drink away if you like them. No problem. One in Rome. So I was in there and I just bet a couple of bucks on the favorite Justify because I didn't really know anything about it. But in there, man, it's a different language. Yeah. It is a different language of what they were asking me on a bet. I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. Right. All the different ways. And they have not only the Churchill Downs there, but they had all tracks across the country people were betting on. It was, and everybody stopped obviously for the Derby. It went on all the channels. But right after that, man, back to all the other races and people just keep on going. It is unreal. And the verbiage is I'm not around it, so I didn't understand it.
What was the weirdest thing that you heard when you were in there?
It was, I just stopped listening. I actually told one guy, there's some people who like the show and were taking some pictures and were asking me about, about like I said, trifectas and the box picks or something. I don't know. At one point I said, just stop talking because I don't understand a word you're saying. I took
You're speaking Latin
I took a
to
few
me.
bucks. I went up there and I said, Justify is the favorite, correct? Yes. Here's
Take my
10
money.
cents, whatever. Yeah. Take my, and then I sat there and won and watched them win. And it was, what a scene though.
Yeah.
But then I had a great time there because blackjack actually went well. And I got to watch the Celtics 76ers and Cleveland and Toronto. It was a lot of fun. Enjoyed it.
That's a nice little run you had on a Saturday.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie to you.
Worked out okay.
You know who knows the language of horse racing better than almost Kenny Mayne?
You would be a guest of ours when we were out at the Kentucky Derby, and I mean, you just sit there and go, wow.
Yeah, I mean, he'll start talking to me about that, and at some point I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's important.
I'm sure the people are having a ball that are doing it, unless the ones that are ripping stuff up and throwing it on the ground. I'm just kind of thinking they're losing.
Yes.
It's putting 2 and 2 together.
Never going to rip up that winning ticket.
But man, they're into it and they love it. So more power to them. I just kind of sat back and people watched.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool.
I think you and I have the same philosophy when it comes to trying to figure out the language of betting.
It was my understanding that there would be no math.
Yeah.
It's a different deal for
Luckily,
both of us.
there wasn't. I didn't even know this, how bad I was, right? So when the odds were on the board there for Justify, it was 3-1.
Yeah.
And when I made my bet, that's what it was. And before the race started, it changed to 5-2.
Yeah.
Which certainly is different than 3-1.
Right.
I actually had to ask somebody. I said, new to this.
Yeah.
I bet when it was 3-1, it's now 5-2. What if I win? Which odds?
Yeah.
And they were like, whatever it goes off at, whenever the race starts, whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
That's a legit. I probably would have asked the same question.
I thought, wait a minute, I made the bet when they were 3-1, so don't I get it when? And they're like, no, whatever the race goes off at, that's what you. I'm like,
sucks.
Okay. Well, that's what I thought. I said, wait a minute, 5-2 isn't as good as 3-1.
It's like that. You keep moving the line.
Yeah.
I was here. That was good.
So I thought that was kind of weird.
Bottom line, you came out ahead.
I almost didn't ask because I felt stupid. Then I'm like, I feel stupid anyway because I don't understand what anybody's saying. So why not just ask?
I was about to say, once you feel like you're in over your head, ask as many questions as possible.
I walked in there drowning, so I mean, it was ridiculous.
Hey, look. It was a win for you, and that's all that matters, and it was a big win.
It was fun.
For Justify, but again, nobody's winning bigger than American Pharaoh.
There you go.
We may get into that later. Okay, let's start with what's trending, and it's the Warriors bouncing back in that big way in Game 4, beating the Pelicans by 26. They're now up 3-1 in that series, and the death lineup was starting the game for the first time.
First time Curry, Durant, Green, Iguodala, and Thompson started the best five as Steve Kerr said, didn't start at last game, wanted Steph Curry to get a game under his belt, getting a little better playing shape before, because he said there's a lot of high pick and rolls in it, so wanted him a little better off. Feels good now. They outscored the Pelicans 52-26 with that group of five on the court. I go back again after they lost. They got crushed in Game 3. That Draymond Green sent a text message to Kevin Durant at 4:00 in the morning saying, dude, you got to play better. You got to be more aggressive, both sides of the court. Durant answered that with 38 points, played well. This team, they're healthy now. They're the best team in all of basketball. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But we are, it seems, going to get that matchup with Houston and Golden State the way the Rockets are playing as well.
Yeah, and I would imagine that Houston might see this lineup a little bit in the
I would say so.
Western Conference Finals. Assuming that both teams hold a 3-1 series lead, we like their chances to do that. The other team there that we like to get there, of course, is Houston. Chris Paul, 27 points on his 33rd birthday as the Rockets beat the Jazz to also go up 3-1. They took that game 100-87.
Yeah, again, both games yesterday, neither winning team was down at all in the game. Now, quite honestly, in the Cleveland-Toronto game, it was the same way, though. Toronto did come back and tie it at the end before that big shot by LeBron. Nothing like that happened in these two games. These teams dominated. Houston dominated this one to where one of the exciting parts of it happened off the court. Chris Paul's brother, CJ, was being escorted out of the arena because an official told security, an official on the court, a referee, told a security to get him out because he had been saying derogatory things. CJ Paul had said that official had officiated some of his games in college. And he said it was a case of mistaken identity. He thought I was somebody else, or it meant somebody else. He was getting escorted out. Chris Paul saw this, and Chris Paul told security, no way this is happening.
Yeah.
My brother's not leaving the arena, not happening, no way, no how. He didn't have to leave. He went back to his seat, and I'm sure it's something they'll joke about a little bit now, but Chris Paul's brother almost got escorted out of the arena.
On his birthday, by the way. Happy birthday. See you later. You can come get me out of jail.
Yeah.
The other thing, Chris Paul, by the way, we're all assuming that the series is over, and it's going to be the thing we've sort of wanted to see since February, Houston and Golden State in the Western Conference Finals. Chris Paul is not going down that road.
It's the process, man. I've been here before, 3-1. Went bad real quick. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. We just enjoying the process. Want to get home, see my family. You know what I mean? Good birthday gift. I'll take it.
Yeah, 3-1. He was up with the Clippers against Houston in 2015.
Yeah, he'll still be holding his breath until they get that fourth
and
win.
Went bad there. So he's been down that road. That sound courtesy of TNT, so he does not want to go there. And then this is really interesting. The Milwaukee Bucks plan to interview San Antonio Spurs assistant Becky Hammond for the franchise's head coaching vacancy. Hammond is the NBA's first female assistant, and now will be the first woman to interview for a head coaching job in the history of the league.
You know, she has been coaching their G League team for like 3 or 4 years, and she is so well respected around the league, and just another off the Greg Popovich tree of coaching, another branch that may be going out. Our own Adrian Wojnarowski doesn't think she'll end up getting this job. There's like 10 candidates for this job.
Right.
But just to be in the process and start the process, I think it's fantastic. We've talked about this. Is there going to be a woman head coach in the NBA? And a lot of people think if there is going to be one, it's going to be her.
Right.
Because and LeBron, when he was told about this and chimed in, basically said, basketball isn't about men or women. It's not about gender. He said, if you know the game, that's all that matters. And he said she is so well respected around the league. You know, started out cutting tape or cutting video, for Greg Popovich, and has worked her way up to be well respected around the league, and a great opportunity now as a head coaching candidate to start this interview process and go through it and see what it's like and then see where it leads.
Everybody that has had any sort of interaction with Becky Hammond that I've talked to from a basketball perspective walks away with the same thing. How impressed they are.
Yep.
I mean, she just knows what she's doing.
Knows what she's doing. And that's all that matters at the end of the day.
And our PJ Carlissimo actually has ties to San Antonio and spoke about Hammond recently as a potential head coach.
I think she's a superstar. I love her. I'm still very close to the Spurs, obviously, having spent 5 years there. And so I've been there a lot. I've seen Becky at practices, at shoot-arounds, on the bench. I know how basketball smart she is, how people smart she is. She's absolutely delightful. It's going to happen for sure. But if she's the first woman to coach, be a head coach in the NBA, she'll do well. And I'll love it because she's a superstar person and she'll be a great coach.
So again, he's assuming that it may not happen in Milwaukee.
Right.
But PJ firmly believes that somewhere down the line she will be a head coach in the league.
20 years in the WNBA, played overseas as well. Coming off the G League. There are those that think Jerry Stackhouse, who's coming off coaching in the G League, may be the favorite for this Milwaukee job. We'll have to wait and see. But again, great experience for her to go into this in this interview process. And I agree. And for those who have any issue with it at all, need to get over it.
Yeah.
For the fact that LeBron is right, and anybody and others have said it as well. It is not about man or woman. It's about your knowledge of the game and how well you're respected. Because that's the one thing when you go somewhere and you have a coach is like, how is that coach respected? And she's put her time in and done enough to where players respect what she is doing, from an assistant, from when cutting video to an assistant coach to the head coach in the G League, to respect what she's doing, I think, to where she is going to be the first head coach at some point.
Yeah, nobody has ever, that I've talked to or that I've listened to that have worked with her has had anything but great things to say about her. So that's why we're pretty confident that she or a woman one day will get a head coaching job in the near future. Confidence Theme brought to you by Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently. Golic and Wingo with you on a Monday morning. Lots to get to, including a story. As soon as I saw this, Mike, I knew that it was going to be something you would want to talk about, even though you probably don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
And it's basically your worst nightmare. In every way, shape, or form. Cardinals catcher Yadier Molina is going to be out for a while.
Yeah, he is.
He had to have surgery. Surgery after being hit in the Yadiers.
Yeah.
After a 102-mile-an-hour pitch was tipped by Chris Bryant and then went straight into the nether regions.
Yeah.
It was bad. Mike Matheny, a former catcher, and now the Cardinals manager, talked about it and said, look, I saw as soon as it happened, he was just trying to get his breath back and tried to breathe for a while. But, I mean, he had to have surgery down there for a massive hematoma.
Yeah, what it was called was a pelvic injury with traumatic hematoma. Oh. And as Matheny said, it's like something you've never felt, which is very true. And if you're a guy, and we always have our fun with this, but this led to surgery. This got pretty serious. He said you're always just hoping it's one of those things where, and like it normally is, you take a couple of minutes, you catch your breath, then it's manageable. But he said you could see this was on a different level. He left the game after being hit, and as Trey mentioned, he's going for surgery and going to be out a month. But man, I mean that's one of those you have your fun with at times, and you usually just. Again, it hurts, you recover, but this did lead to surgery, so certainly of a serious nature when you're going to miss a month of the damage that can do. And, man, that's with wearing a cup. I mean, gosh. Yeah. I mean, they got to start making better cups maybe. I don't know.
One of the things that you were the first ones to tell me about, by the way, is that most guys in the NFL don't wear cups.
I've never known a football player to wear a cup, ever. Yeah. I mean, and I know people were shocked at that. Because think of all the ways you fall down, it would be very uncomfortable in certain situations of hitting the ground and falling and such to have a cup on. Guys don't wear cups. And every now and then you get kicked there. I remember, I'll never forget the running back I kicked is for the Giants. I can't remember who it was, but man, we were on the goal line.
Right.
And the goal line play.
What year? Do you remember?
Oh, no, I have no idea what year. Seriously. You're asking me that? So it's a goal line play, and as a D lineman and goal line, basically they're in all fours, you're down low, you're just kind of shooting forward. And basically the O line just kind of piles on you and such. So I kind of did that into a gap on the play, and I could see I was on my stomach, and nobody was really on me, and the back was coming back to my right.
Through the hole.
Yeah. And obviously I was laying on the ground. I couldn't get up in that time. It's a bang-bang play to get up to make the tackle. So I swung my leg around. Yeah. And to trip him, which is completely illegal, but I mean, you're just flailing at that point.
Take the penalty as opposed to getting up the touchdown.
Or just hoping the ref doesn't see it. You're in the goal line there. You may not even see it. And my heel, I know the pads on a football player, knee pads, thigh pads and all that. I swung my heel around and I felt nothing but soft tissue. I kid you not. I swung and hard. And I mean, that running back just dropped. Unfortunately, he dropped right in the end zone, but that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, I actually felt bad about that. I did. I knew exactly where I kicked him, and he obviously did as well. Because
I'm sure he knew. I'm pretty sure he was very familiar with it.
He wasn't doing a lot of celebrating for that touchdown. He was trying to recover a little bit. But it definitely happens out there. But players do. Football players, I've never known one in my life to, and I don't know if any do or not. But to my knowledge, they don't wear a cup at all.
I mean, just listening to this from Mike Matheny, he was trying to get the ability to breathe back. No further explanation for that one. 10-day disabled, but again, he's going to miss a month.
Yeah.
That's a rough one.
If you see that, I mean, any guy has felt this in a certain way one time or another. But 102 mile an hour pitch that was barely tipped. Yeah. So I don't know how much speed came off that ball when it was barely tipped by the bat. And then just a direct shot, unfortunately, again, leading to the surgery. So the normal, sophomoric fun we would have with this, we don't want to have at this point because that led to surgery. You're going to miss some time.
Yeah,
so we hope he's okay.
Yeah. You know what people should do? They should send him flowers.
There you go.
Golic and Wingo is presented by 1-800-Flowers.com. Countdown to Mother's Day is on. 1-800-Flowers is here to hook you up with an amazing offer. Buy Mom a dozen sorbet roses, get another half dozen plus a free vase for only $29.99. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. Okay, the other thing that might be a little uncomfortable right now is the quarterback room of the Pittsburgh Steelers. As we all know, the Steelers did Mason Rudolph in the third round of the draft. And Mason Rudolph probably isn't going to play this year.
I would say not.
Or next year. So Ben Roethlisberger was asked if he would take Rudolph under his wing on 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh, and here was Ben's response.
Will you feel any extra or added responsibility to take him under your wing? Do you think you'll have to do that?
I don't think I'll need to now. He said that he doesn't need me. So if he asks me a question, I might have to just point to the playbook,
Have you talked to him yet, Ben?
I have not talked to him yet. I don't think they're in town yet. I think that the biggest thing is I need to get myself prepared to play, right? I mean, that's first priority. In the past, I've helped Ranger with stuff. I helped Josh if they have questions. But first priority is getting myself ready to play because as far as I know, I'm still the starter. So I need to get myself ready to go, ready to play to win a championship.
The throwaway line there, as far as I know, I'm still the starter.
Yeah, listen,
Ben, you're still the starter.
A couple of things here. I know we got upset, and I get it, and I've said this before. If the Giants had taken a quarterback at number 2, I think every player in that locker room would have been upset saying, wait a minute, we want to win right now.
Correct.
And whoever you drafted there at 2 is not going to play for us for a few years. While management likes to think about the future and has to, the players of the now don't want to. So Ben saying, hey, we could have got a guy there that could help us right now because they certainly are one of the favorites in the AFC. I completely understand. But I'll also say this, Ben now all of a sudden said he wants to play another, 3 to 5 years?
3 to 5
but
years.
He has said, I'm thinking about retiring basically every year. So I'm sorry, Ben, you brought this upon, as far as their thought process of maybe having to take a quarterback, you kind of come see, come saw about whether you're going to play or not is going to put that in their mind a little bit. I mean, so at least that's my thought. And as far as, let me tell you what's overblown. What's overblown is any position guy, is there a responsibility to help the other guy at your position?
Right.
I mean, let's stop with that, okay?
This goes back to Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. Back that far.
Here's what you do when you're a rookie. At least I think, in my eyes, what you should do. You know what you've never played before? Professional football.
Correct.
You've never been in the NFL, and you hear how different it can be. It's still football, but there's a difference to it. You are now dealing with men here who do it for their job, and it's a different animal as far as what you're learning. You go in there, there are some things at old school that don't change. At times keep your mouth shut and your ears and eyes open and learn. Learn from watching. You don't have to go in and the veteran who's at your position doesn't need to put his arm around you and say, sit with me, let me go over everything. Learn from watching. You know how to read a playbook? Learn a playbook. You know how to watch film? Watch film. Watch what the veterans are doing. Watch how they go about their business. That's how you learn. And I bet if you do that and you have a question, they'll answer your question.
Correct.
If Mason Rudolph has a question and he goes to Ben and asks a question, you think Ben's going to say, Rook, I'm not helping you? Give me a break. Ben will help him.
Yeah.
But that's not how it starts out. You don't sit and say, okay, let's talk and go over. You just learn by watching and listening, ask questions to your coaches.
Osmosis.
Do it that way, and then if you have questions along the way, the veterans will answer them. I mean, so that's the biggest overblown. Do you have a responsibility to help him? No. My responsibility first is to get myself ready, and then if I need to help my teammate, if my teammate wants help, I'll be there to help him.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to, he's not supposed to go, hey, Mason, come here. I'm going to help you today. I mean, that's not how it works.
It's never how it works. Now, people can say, well, he could have handled that differently, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, what you're saying is 100% correct. Everybody has to get themselves ready first, and we'll figure it out from there. And, oh, by the way, they did get some players, I think, in the draft that will help them win now. They got Terrell Edmonds, the linebacker that everybody's raving about, out of Virginia Tech. They also got James Washington, who was the Blitnikoff winner, the wide receiver. Oh, they got the safety.
They got the safety. Tremaine Edmonds went to the Bills, the linebacker.
Yeah, exactly.
They got the safety, the two brothers that went in the first round. And listen, the part about I would – Mason Rudolph said, I would have said the same thing about, I got a guy, why don't we get someone that we could use right now? I get that. Because I guarantee every player in that locker room is thinking of that as well. They're thinking about the now. They're not thinking about the next quarterback for this team.
Yeah, and look, the other thing, too, is your point that it's different in every team, okay? Like, for example, there is every expectation that Josh McCown is going to mentor Sam Darnold and Teddy Bridgewater because that's why he's there. Mm-hmm. I mean, he may start the season
as
a
chance
starter
to start the season,
but he is also there because he's great. He's great in the quarterback room. That is not the situation here.
But let me also say this: when Josh McCown is in that quarterback room with with Bridgewater and with Darnold, it's also not his job to go up to each one and make sure they're doing everything right. It's their jobs to learn and watch by the process. And if they have questions and say, Josh, hey, what do you do here or there? Josh will answer that question. Yeah. It's not on Josh to go to those guys and say, let me help you.
No. But I think the understanding is with Josh. And
they have him there in that room.
Because he's great in the room.
Yes.
I mean, that's part of the situation. Ben's job is to go win freaking games.
Right.
That's the thing, and hopefully get them to finally beat the Patriots, which is something they struggle with mightily. Over the last 3 seasons, by the way, Ben is the only quarterback that has played at least 25 games and averaged more than an interception per game, 43 and 41 games. He had that 5-burger this past season against Jacksonville, the first time they lost to the Jaguars. But we'll see what happens. All right, coming up, we think we know the running back that Golic kicked in the nether regions. We got that nailed down.
Right.
Plus, an athlete became one of 4 players all-time. I know we wanted to get to that. Sure. One of all-time to accomplish something over the weekend, and we'll talk to one of his Hall of Fame contemporaries.
Golic.
Makes me want to vomit and then punch you square in the face.
And Wingo.
Oh, he's saucy today.
He's a Hall of Famer, John Smoltz, already on the MLB Network. You can catch John on MLB Tonight. Plus, MLB Network will feature the Red Sox and Yankees this Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. John, thanks for being with us this morning. How are you?
I'm doing good, guys. Thanks.
Most importantly, how's your golf game right now?
It's getting a little better. We got out of this seemed like 8-month winter everywhere. So once it warms up, it gets better.
Yeah, well, Smoltz was one of that. I mean, that whole Braves rotation, they all played golf together, and Maddox.
I bet at one point all putted better than Tiger did this weekend.
So. Listen, they could hit the hole. There's no question about it. Okay, we'll get to golf a little bit later, but let's talk first and foremost about Albert Pujols joining the 3,000 hit club. Obviously, you thought he was a very difficult out. Against you, he hit 368, 3 home runs, 5 RBIs, only struck out once. In your mind, what makes Albert Pujols such a tough hitter?
He seemed so comfortable in the box. He had a unique ability to not overswing. You never saw wild misses, and that's what we see today. Today, everyone's trying to uppercut, hit it all over the place in the air, but Albert didn't do that. I considered him the fiercest right-hander that sat in a rocking chair that just didn't give an inch, and certainly didn't have good numbers against him. I didn't know how to get him out, in ways that he was the best I've ever seen for a 10-year period over there in the National League. And it speaks for itself what he's been able to do over his career. There's been a lot of injuries of late, and people kind of wrote him off. But I think Albert, much like Miguel Cabrera, two hitters that you don't come across very often. Mike Trout, his teammate, of course, is unique in that way too. But, you look at guys and when they can go power all over the park, and they don't just swing from their heels. They have a plan, and that's what he's had. That's why he's got the combination of homers and 3,000 hits.
John, take everybody into your preparation. For most of the people listening will never be in your situation. When you're scouting and you're preparing to face hitters, so let's say Albert Pujols, take us through that process of what you do to figure out how you're going to pitch him.
So the first problem is that he's not going to be super aggressive, and I loved super aggressive guys because then you could throw whatever you want. You could expose their weakness, but he always gave you a strike. So if you threw a strike to lead him off, that was good. He rarely swung at the first pitch. But the fear factor of when is he going to come out of that game plan, I don't want to be the one that lays it down the middle and he decides to swing at that first pitch and hit a homer. And the only way that you could get him out, you couldn't get him too often to chase away. He was disciplined. I learned later, when it was too late, that I could actually throw a changeup inside to him, which I would have never done to any right-hander, or a split. That would have been something I could have maybe exposed. That the down and in version of a left-hander throwing a slider to him would be my split. But he crushed anything up, and if you made a mistake up, he was going to hit it. So the fear factor is you knew you were limited to what you could do from a mistake standpoint. And I've always said that when a pitcher and a hitter get in their respective spots, one of them knows they've got the advantage. And the key is to not let the other guy know that he has the advantage. Well, I tried my best to fake it. But I'm pretty sure that Albert Pujols, when he stood in the box, knew he had an advantage over pretty much everybody that stood on the mound.
Well, listen, that's why he's one of only, 4 players, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, and A-Rod, with 3,000 hits and 600 homers. Hall of Famer John Smoltz with us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Speaking of a whole new level, that's where we are in dealing with Shohei Ohtani, who's been a decent hitter and now picked up his 4th win of the season. What has impressed you the most, John, about what we're seeing from Ohtani as a two-way player?
It really is his arm. I got to believe that as a hitter, he was going to learn how to adapt. Maybe his success early out of spring training where he did nothing probably surprised everybody because he looked overmatched. He looked uncomfortable, adapting to a new style and different velocity. I can't imagine he's seen that kind of velocity over in Japan. But his arm's special. I'm just telling you, if he came over here just as a pitcher, I would go in the stands to watch him pitch. He's got a unique arsenal of fastball, split, and breaking balls. And I've often said, and I will say it again, that if the Angels are where they want to be at the end of the year, going into September, I don't think you're going to see him do both. I could be wrong, but I still think at some point his greatest weapon is his arm. The hitting is nice, and it's a great thing to root for, and hopefully it continues, but there's too many things that can get in the way when you're trying to prepare for a start and dominate down the stretch, which I believe that's the missing link for the Angels. Their offense is good enough without him, but it's you got to believe their plan and their letter enticed them over here to do this as long as possible, and then all bets are off when they get into the playoff run, in my opinion.
Ohtani is hitting .339, 4 home runs, 14 RBIs, has 5 multi-hit games as well. He's given up 4 home runs, and he's hit 4 home runs in that race we were talking about. So been pretty impressive so far. From an injury standpoint, Clayton Kershaw goes on the 10-day DL with biceps tendonitis. So as a pitcher, kind of explain that. How bad is that? What could it lead to, or should he be back pretty quick?
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine it's much time. Look, with the 10-day DL now, it's a different deal in baseball. You know, once thought that this would be really, really good for the game. And I'm not saying this is the case, but there's been a lot of reasons to rest pitchers from the 10-day DL last year and the year before, just because you want to conserve innings. But for a bicep tendonitis, it's probably one of those things that you're not as overly concerned about. And you can get what's considered a tired arm, or in this case, a little bit of a tendonitis in a bicep. That's fine, because that will, you have the ability to, we used to talk about the hot and cold tub of where you're just trying to flush the inflammation in that area, and bicep tendonitis is something that, I think every pitcher at some point might feel like they have, but it goes away pretty quickly. And you're not as concerned about that.
We are talking with 96 Cy Young Award winner John Smoltz, whom I once bumped into, by the way, in the line at Disney's Typhoon Lagoon when he was down there in spring tour. You remember that, right, John? I was there with my kids. Oh, hey, John, how you doing? Of all the places you expect to see John Smoltz, Typhoon Lagoon, sure, Disney Beach. So that was funny. The other thing that's interesting is what the Yankees have been able to do here. 15 of 16, John. It looked like the Red Sox were going to run away with the AL East, and they still have the best record in baseball. But after this incredible run, that lead is down to 1 game. And as we said on MLB Network, you guys will get that series twice this week. In the long term, which team right now do you think you have more faith in to win the division, the Yankees or the Red Sox?
That's a great question, because in a regular season format, what the Yankees have put themselves in position to is to hide a few more mistakes, if you will, by their offense. But what the Red Sox have been able to put up is their fact that if their starting rotation is healthy, you got to like their starting rotation over the Yankees. But it's going to be must-see TV the rest of the way, because the offensive power and the offensive numbers that the Yankees, they're always one swing away from either getting back in the game or winning a game, which you've seen in their last 2 weeks. And they're getting way better pitching than people expected, especially from CC Sabathia, who, by the way, 2 years ago, people wrote off, saying that he can't pitch without 95. I still maintain that they've put themselves, the Yankees have, in a great situation regular season wise, to just beat up people more, because the pitching they're going to face, if it isn't locked in every night, they're going to score some runs. Now the key is going to be in clutch situations down the stretch and great pitching, because there's a lot of strikeouts in the Yankees lineup. But you better be on your game. It better be Corey Kluber-like. It better be Scherzer-like. It better be the likes of what Houston has to throw at you, which, oh, by the way, they won 3 out of 4 because they shut out the Houston offense. But when you've got Cole, Verlander, Morton, McCullers, that's a lineup that you can navigate through with the strikeouts that they're in that lineup. But it's also a lineup, you just hang one slider, and they're going to hit a lot of home runs. So it's going to be a fun stretch run. The rivalry's officially back between the Red Sox and the Yankees.
John, quick
I guess I didn't answer your question.
It's okay.
That's all right.
But you sounded so well doing it, I enjoyed it.
At this point, in what looks like, it looks like the edge goes to the Yankees with their offense and their bullpen.
All right. So you did answer the question.
There you go.
It's all good. All right, next time we'll do Blizzard Beach, all right, instead of Typhoon Lagoon. John, we appreciate you being with us this morning. Thanks.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
This has been the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast. You can listen or subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or just ask your smart speaker to play Golic and Wingo. Plus, you can check the guys out live weekday mornings from 6 to 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN News.
I'm a one-trick pony. Literally. I show up at kids' parties and act cute. That's pretty much it. So excuse me for being bitter. When Geico says not only could we save you money on car insurance, but we do more. Like give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or even via our award-winning mobile app. Well, ooh la la. Aren't they multi-talented? Hey, I said organic carrots.
Geico. Expect great savings in a whole lot.